Hello and thanks for watching. Over the next few minutes, I'll be showing you how to use our value-add apartment acquisition model to underwrite a stabilized apartment opportunity. Now to do that, I have a hypothetical scenario, calling it here Threes Company Apartments, and all of the assumptions are included in this PDF that you can download on the blog post for this video. Off to the left here, we have the most recent version of the model. That's beta version 0.31. The version you're using may be slightly different, and you can see those differences coming here to the version tab and reading through the changelog. Now, as you recall from the model, we have a summary tab and an underwriting tab open by default. You'll find now as of version 0.3 that we've included an annual report. It's hidden by default, but to show the report, come to the summary tab, click on this show button, and an annual cash flow report tab will appear where you can print off essentially a roll-up of your monthly cash flows. We'll go ahead and hide that tab and proceed to the underwriting tab. And here's where we'll enter all of our assumptions, starting of course with investment description. So this is Threes Company Apartments. It's located at 1000 Main Street in any town, any county, any state, 00000. There's one building. It's a 4-story building, 224,700 square feet of gross buildable area, no surface spots, and 412 structured spots. This is a wrap deal. So 4 stories of apartments wrapped around a structured apartment parking structure. Analysis begin is January 2020, and we are using or performing a 120-month analysis. So we put the sale date at the end of month 120 of our analysis, which in this case would be January 2030. Next, we move into the investment cash flow section. In the case of a value add deal, this is where you would drop in your acquisition cost and then any of your renovation costs, hard costs, soft costs, financing costs related to that renovation. Here, because it's stabilized, there won't be any hard costs, any soft costs, or any financing costs related to the renovation. So we'll zero those out. And then closing costs we will assume are inclusive of any financing fees here. And in this case, well, first we have a purchase price of, looking at our notes, $53 million. And then closing costs of half of 1%, $265,000. Those are going out, of course, in month 0, so we leave that as 0. Next, we model our capital stack. We have one slice of debt, so just a senior loan. So we'll take the junior loan and set the loan to cost to 0. And then we have a senior loan that is 70% of the purchase price. Well, the input, if you recall here in the value add apartment acquisition model for debt is loan to cost. Our cost is $53,265,000, but the loan amount is 70% of just the purchase price. So to do this, it's fairly simple. We take 53 million, we divide that by our total cost, and we multiply it by 70%. Or 69.7% of cost is our 70% of purchase price loan amount, or 37.1 million. Our equity then is 10% GP, 90% LP, for an equity check of 16.165 million. Now, in terms of timing, funding order, they all go out at the same time. Well, really, the loan goes out second, the equity goes out first, but since it all happens in the same period, it really doesn't matter. Now, in terms of loan assumptions, 120-month term. We just want the term to match the analysis period. There is no IO. It's all amortizing over a 30-year period, so 360 months. Fixed rate. Again, I'm setting the junior to something, but it really doesn't matter because there is no junior loan amount. And then our rate on the senior is 450. And then we have the option if we want to include a refi of this initial financing. We're not, right? Because our loan term is coterminous with our analysis period. But if we were to say model an assumption where this loan is expected to mature mid-hold period, then we would toggle this refi and then we would model some subsequent financing. Leave that though at sale, meaning this initial loan ends at sale. And now we move into our operating cash flow section. So our growth rates, 2% for everything, both expenses and income. Now our rule to market, because this is a stabilized deal, this really doesn't matter. And I'll show you why. Okay, right now, with a opportunity, the default that is included with the model is a value add scenario. And so you see out here to the right, we have this event row. We have a renovation starting in month 6. You see here the status in place. It begins to roll to market. And then month 32, renovation ends, rent is now market through to the end of the hold period. Well, what we're going to do now is we'll come out here to our unit mix table. We have a studio, we have a 1-bed, 1-bath, and we have a 2-bed, 2-bath. We don't have any other units, and everything is renovated. Or in other words, or it may not be renovated, but we don't have any intention of renovating it, and we believe that the rent that is in place is market. Or it's the rent that we're comfortable with, and we're going to grow that rent through the analysis period. So we just call these 100% renovated. And when we do that, now you'll see here, the percent rolled to market immediately goes to 100%. And therefore, from an economic standpoint, these assumptions no longer matter. Now, if we want to keep this clean, we just change begin roll to 0, complete roll to 1. And what you'll find now is month 1 to the end is marked as market, and there won't be any event in the event row. Okay, so we have that. Now let's move to the unit mix itself. There are 60 studios, 150 1-bed, 1-baths, 40 2-bed, 2-baths, 0 of these others. 600 square feet studio, 750 1-bed, 1-bath, 950 2-bed, 2-bath. That gets us 250 total units, average size of 746 square feet. All are renovated per our standards. Then we come to post-renovation rent. All right, so because there's no pre, everything is just static, stabilized, if you will. There's no pre. We're going to put all of our assumptions in post, and then we'll come back and we'll set the pre equal to post. And that's not necessarily from an economic standpoint. It won't change the returns at all, regardless of what we do with this column, because we set everything here to 100%. But to keep it clean, we'll set the pre-renovation to be equal to the post-renovation. So first, post-renovation, we're $1,150 for our studio, $1,500 for our 1-bed, 1-bath, $1,900 2-bed, 2-bath. Scrolling through here, we have no concessions. 1 model unit. Our rubs are $30 per unit per month. We have a miscellaneous income, and we're calling that $35 per unit per month. Now we have parking income that is actually on 162 spaces times 50 a month, and then we just simply divide that by the number of units, and that will give us $32 per unit per month in parking income, or $97,200. Next, we have vacancy. There's no credit loss assumption and a 5% general vacancy. This general vacancy then is assumed to include credit loss, any loss to lease, any other adjustments to gross rent other than concessions and our non-revenue units are assumed to be embedded into this 5% general vacancy line. Then we move to repairs, or to our operating expenses, repair and maintenance first. Let's see, we're $300 per unit per year. Payroll at $1,100, admin at $250, marketing at $300, utilities at $800, contract services at $150, make ready at $200. Our management fee is 3%, insurance $175, and then our real estate taxes, we want to solve for a 125 mill rate. Right now we're at 124, so let's just tick this up till we hit it. Oops, not even that. There we go, 2610. And then capital reserves, we'll reserve $200 per unit per year, or $50,000. And that gets us now to our cash flow from operations. We see our debt service. That's a 125 coverage, which is right on the minimum for the most part. And then cash flow after financing, 567. Finally, we move to our reversion assumptions. We have a 5.5 in-place cap rate and a 6 sale cap rate out in year 10, 2% selling costs. That gets us a $3.4 million cash flow from operation and a $3.464 million net operating income in year 11, which we're using for our reversion pro forma at the end of year 10. Cap that at a 6 cap, gets us $57.7 million sale price 10 years out. We can then scroll in and see our returns. On an unlevered basis, it results in a 6.33% IRR and a 164 multiple. That's a 216 levered multiple and a 925 levered IRR. And for this exercise, we won't be modeling out our partnership level cash flows, but here, based on just the default assumptions that are included, let's say that there's no asset management fee. The GP gets a 947, the LP gets a 922 IRR, and on equity multiple 221 and 216. So that is a stabilized opportunity run through our value add apartment acquisition model. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, thanks for your time.